Well, a controversial verdict in a trial many are comparing to the Trayvon Martin case. Michael Dunn, who is white, was convicted on 3 counts of attempted murder, but a jury failed to find him guilty of murdering Jordan Davis, an unarmed black teenager. Both sides are outraged over the outcome, and today dozens of Davis supporters gathered in Jacksonville to protest. We begin our coverage tonight with Martin Savage out front.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder.
It's the conviction that has few people satisfied. Protesters gathered at the gas station where the shooting occurred, upset the jury was unable to convict Michael Dunn on the most serious charge of murder. For a second time in 6 months, they see an admitted killer not convicted for a black teen's death. First Trayvon Martin, now Jordan Davis.
I bought my grandson because this little man here, I love him with all my life. And I don't want him or no other black child to have to continue to go through this. It has to end, and it has to be now. It has to come to an end now.
Not far away, Diallo Sekou parked his SUV, windows down, the hip-hop blaring, just as Davis was doing when he was confronted by Dunn. Loud music has become a symbol of protest. Like many in Jacksonville, he thinks prosecutor Angela Corey failed the black community, just as she did, he says, in the trial of George Zimmerman. You think she should resign?
Immediately. ASAP.
Without a doubt.
Yes, yesterday.
The night of the verdict, protesters marched on the state attorney's office demanding Angela Curry's resignation. They're not the only ones unhappy with the outcome. Today, Rebecca Dunn, daughter of Michael Dunn, told ABC's Good Morning America she hadn't stopped crying since her father was found guilty on 3 counts of attempted murder.
I love him so much. He's my best friend. Like I can't imagine living life without him.
Dunn says she has no doubt her father killed 17-year-old Jordan Davis in self-defense.
He's gonna protect himself. If he sees no other way than to bring out his gun, that's what he's gonna do.
Corey says that she will retry Dunn for murder, but some fear that is just talk. Dunn could spend the rest of his life in prison, but in Jacksonville, not everyone sees it as justice. As for what comes next for Michael Dunn, the judge in the case has said that sentencing should come around the end of March. Meanwhile, the defense attorney has talked about the possibility of an appeal. And then there is the prosecutor who says she intends to retry Michael Dunn for the murder of Jordan Davis. That could be relatively soon. The defense says if it happens, they'll ask for a change of venue. Aaron?
All right, thank you very much. I want to bring in our legal analyst, Mark O'Mara, and Natalie Jackson, a defense attorney. Of course, Mark and Natalie were on opposite sides of the George Zimmerman trial, with Mark, of course, leading the Zimmerman defense. And Natalie, let me start with you, though. Dunn shot 10 times, 3 of them as the teen's SUV was driving away, 3 shots into Jordan Davis alone. Were you surprised that Dunn was not convicted of first-degree murder?
Yes, I was.
And you sound very... I got to say, to be honest, Natalie, you're usually have more to say. You sound pretty muted.
Well, I was surprised just like everyone else because this verdict really hurt. We know that the kids did not have a gun. We know that there was no reason for him to shoot at all. And we know that he was not feeling threatened because there was no gun. So it was an imaginary threat. How do we protect our children if we have to protect them from imaginary threats all the time?
Mark,
and from people running to them. This was a mind your business. He went to these kids and told them to turn down their radio.
Mark, so, what's your take on this? Do you agree with her in this case or no?
I think that this was sort of a frustration for black Americans because I think they looked at the Dunn case as being an opportunity to sort of get an indictment on the American justice system because of the way it has been treating young black males. And they missed that opportunity with the Dunn case, and I can understand the frustration. I think it was also sort of presented as the same way by Angela Corey with the charges to George Zimmerman. I think there was less of a reason for that. I think it was much more of a bad fit. But in this case, I can understand the frustration. I think the jury really thought the case through. I think the 3 attempted second-degree murder charges were appropriate because, at the very least, the last 3 shots that Dunn fired were never justified under almost any set of circumstances. But I do disagree with Natalie a little bit in that the facts of this case, at least from what the state presented, did not show a clear-cut case of Dunn having no reasonable fear whatsoever. I think it's a little bit more questionable than that. And I think the jury did look at that. I think they were very concerned about whether or not there was this reasonable belief or fear that Dunn may have had.
So Natalie, let me ask you this, because when we look at this first-degree murder charge specifically that Dunn was facing regarding Jordan Davis, I want to note, of course, for everyone who hasn't been following this intimately, Dunn's going to spend the rest of his life in prison when you look at the other convictions. 75 years is what he's facing, right, for the charges he was convicted of with the other 3 teenagers in the car. So my question to you is, does the state need to go back and try him for first-degree murder? Or should they do a lower charge? Is the charge itself what matters so much to the black community for justice?
Well, I think the state should charge him for whichever charge they feel they can prove. And I think they felt they could prove first-degree murder.
Do you think they overreached, or do you agree?
No, you have a man who testified that he reached into his glove compartment, he unholstered his gun, he racked the bullet into the gun, he aimed the gun, he shot, he got out of his car, he repositioned and shot again. That's premeditated murder.
So you think that they made the case? Mark, no?
No, they just did not make the case. This was never a first-degree murder case, Natalie. And I think if we took away the racial component from it, which we should have, we're just looking at the elements of the crime itself. This is the case where 2 strangers came up to each other. This is the case where Michael Dunn came up to Jordan, and he asked him to turn down the music. Let me finish, then I will.
Just as George
they came to each other, and we know that in circumstances where the parties don't know each other, it is very difficult to get to the point in any physical confrontation or verbal confrontation, regardless of who starts it, do you get to the level of the premeditation necessary under the law in any state for a premeditated first-degree murder. This was no more than second-degree murder, because if, in fact, Dunn did not act properly, then that depraved mind, regardless of human life, is second degree. If, in fact, he acted in imperfect self-defense, under our law, and Natalie, you know this, under our law, imperfect self-defense is manslaughter. So he should not be retried for first degree, and the reason why he shouldn't be retried, the reason why he should not be retried for first degree is because the state will yet again do something that they can't present to literally the community who they should be looking at, which is the black community, to say
Mark,
we will charge him with what he should be charged with.
Community. This is an issue that is important to every community. We heard testimony from a witness that said that Michael Dunn said, I am tired of something to the fact that I'm going to shut you up. He reached into his glove compartment. He made a conscious decision to get his gun out of his glove compartment. He lied on the stand by saying that he told his girlfriend that he saw a gun. His girlfriend said he never said that to her. So I think that there is a case for first-degree murder. There's a case for first-degree murder.
All right. Well,
if you and I'll just disagree, Mark, we will.
I'm going to hit pause. Absolutely. I hope you both will come back, because I know, obviously, as this decision is made, there are a lot of questions. And we invite your feedback on this case and what you think of that issue. If a man reaches into his glove compartment and shoots the teenager multiple times, as happened in this case, is that first-degree murder or not?